Okay. For the remainder trustees, please announce yourself and your titles, please.
Good evening, Leslie Love Smith Thomas, Board Secretary.
Michael Poole, Board Trustee. Again, Michael.
Okay. And on the call, we have Board Vice President Daryl Joyce. Mr. Joyce, if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up. I don't think he can hear me at all. All right, so we'll hopefully we can get that resolved before the end of the meeting. Dr. Green, can you please announce yourself and any administration that's going to be on the call?
Good evening, Board President, trustees assembled, Dr. Jennifer Green, Superintendent of the Southfield Public School District. We have taking notes, Ms. Laura Norris. We also have on the call from the executive team, Jolene Davis, Mark Ingram, Josie Petita, Dr. Sharice Ferris, Dr. Lanisa Freeman, Mr. Beebe and Marshall are trying to join as we speak, and I believe Ms. Paulette is going to be bumped up as well.
Thank you very much. If we could all just say the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
President, my sound is bad.
Okay, so sir, what I may if one of the trustees could text Mr. Joyce and tell him he may just want to dial in on his cell phone, because we can see him, we just can't hear him, and he can't hear us.
Also, Yolanda was on, but I don't see her name anymore.
Trustee Charles? I just unmuted you. Trustee Joyce? Trustee Joyce? I just unmuted you as well. I hear noise on your end.
I'm sending him a text message as well.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee
Joyce?
I'm going to log off and then try coming back in.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, in the interim, can we say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, for which public, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any board matters from anyone?
Yes, I have a couple. I think that we should take a strong look at scheduling the retreat for this year, since we have ample time to do that, and school is not expected to start back until September. And we missed our retreat last year, and there are a lot of things that we need to be brought to date on, especially legal update. We haven't had that in about a year now, so it's time to do that. And also, I have a question about vacation for Dr. Green for 2020. Have you scheduled a vacation for 2020? And if so, can you provide the board with the details on that? And graduation plans. Do we have any graduation plans set in place for our 2020 graduates? Also, what about the dollars they spent on graduation, the yearbook, the prom, and what have you? If we don't provide those, are we going to reimburse these students? Also, what about the money that we paid Aretha Franklin's amphitheater? Are we going to get refunded for that money as well, since we can't have it there this year? And that's the end of my board matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Robinson. Any other board matters from any trustees?
Yes, I have two. Per board policy 0164-1, regular meetings, I'm going to read the policy as it's stated, as it was adopted in March of 2011. The board shall hold a meeting at least once each month on a date and at a time and place determined annually by a resolution of the board. I bring this up because the month of July has been, historically since I've been on the board, has been a month that has caused some confusion, I would say, in terms of Are we taking a break for the month of July? Are we going to meet this year in the month of July? And if so, should we look at updating this board policy? Do we want to put in a temporary resolution regarding just this year as it pertains to us meeting? I just want to make sure that our practice is aligned with our policy and to have it noted on record what we need to do moving forward for this year, if in fact we're just going to look at this year because maybe circumstances are different for next year. And then my second board matter is pertaining to Dr. Green's evaluation. I want to make note, especially as we are looking at wrapping up this 2019-2020 academic year, that her evaluation will be modified to reflect the removal of student growth due to the executive order, which eliminated student assessments for this school year based on COVID-19.
And is that from the MASB, or who's that for? They're directed from?
The executive order from the governor?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Governor.
So, Trustee Smith-Thomas, are any of those items that you brought up motions you want to make?
Well, one, I don't want to move too fast. I would love to hear from Dr. Green in terms of meeting in July. If we in fact need to meet in July, then I don't see a need for a motion except for perhaps to, the policy would remain the same. If we're not going to meet in July because perhaps we don't need to, if we need to take that time off, that we amend or put in place a temporary resolution just stating that we will not be meeting in July. So I would just love to hear from the superintendent in terms of the business, as well as you, board president, as well as the business of the school district as it relates to whether or not we need to meet in July or if we need to have that month off.
So, let me go back to Trustee Robinson's board matters first. I wanted to check to see my notes. And Trustee Robinson, you had posed a question about the graduation, which I believe we will have an update during this meeting on what the potential plans are. But as far as the legal as well as vacation days, Dr. Green, if you don't mind responding to the trustee and her inquiry.
Absolutely. Board President, Trustee Robinson, the relative to a vacation, I have not scheduled anything in the midst of the pandemic and the devastation felt in the wake of the pandemic throughout our community. I didn't feel it best to take any time off of work at the present date. However, if it is mandated that I do so during the pandemic, I will definitely comply if the majority of the board feel that necessary. If not, I will remain on post and on duty until we get past this pandemic, which also ties into what Trustee Love Smith-Thomas was asking relative to July. We don't know what July is going to bring. As it currently stands, the governor's executive order takes us through May of the end of May. However, we are anticipating this pandemic to continue throughout the summer, and the latest reports indicate that we may have a second wave of the pandemic in August. Therefore, I do not want to be too far away from the office when that happens. Again, however, I serve at the pleasure of the board, so if I am directed to take some vacation days, I will do that. As it pertains to a legal update, we've had a few legal updates as we've settled claims. We have no new litigation in our district, and that is something that we can be quite proud of. The team has worked very hard to ensure that we are being compliant in all regards, and while we cannot prevent someone from filing a suit, I am pleased to say that we have no new litigation. We still have some things that we are trying to clean up relative to some ADA compliance issues that we've had ongoing. And we hear that we may have litigation from our former lawn service. However, we have not been formally served with that documentation. Outside of that, that is all we have relative to litigation at this time.
Yeah, my concern was the the litigations that have been approved or the litigation that are ongoing, not really the new ones, but an update on the ones that have been settled and the ones that have not been settled. We need to be made aware of that. And if those incurred cost or payouts, we need to know that as well.
Okay, we will provide an update at the next meeting. The ones that have incurred fees, you did approve those settlements, and those settlements have been paid and those have been closed. No new settlements have been presented without board approval, but we will provide a complete list at the next study session.
Thank you.
And Trustee Smith-Thomas, Dr. Green, if you can address her inquiries.
Yes, I believe the first inquiry was relative to July, and at this time, I don't know what will be necessary in the month of July. We have a number of scenarios relative to summer school, and we also have a lot of planning to do relative to next school year. There are multiple scenarios being devised, not only at the local level, but at the county, state, and national level. You have Mike Buczynski on the phone. He'll speak to some things that he's seeing both on a national and international level later on the agenda. And at this time, it's too early for us to determine if we will need to meet in July.
That's fair. So again, as I mentioned before, because the month of July has been a month that has caused some confusion in terms of maintaining our practice and our policy in alignment. However, that is fair because from day to day, we don't know what will come about. So Board President, at this time, I'm not prepared to make a motion. However, I will just put forth an ask that if we foresee us not meeting in July, that we move on a resolution, just making sure that our practice is in alignment with our policy as it currently stands. And if we need to amend the policy, that we move forward in taking those steps as well.
Duly noted. Thank you. Any other board matters?
Board President, Talisha Rice, joined at 7:03 p.m. I think the group was engaged in the Pledge of Allegiance, so I did want to announce my attendance.
Thank you.
The only board matter I would have is with some of the state changes around funding, and I know that we have a budget resolution scheduled on the agenda this evening. It would be good if we had updated information on potential impacts to the budget as we look at approving that resolution and the budget for our timing coming up here soon.
Board President,
Yes, ma'am.
Address that. We are scheduled to have a forecast from the state on Friday. Our most recent update that came out today slated for a 25% reduction in student funding. We're hoping that that is not the case, and we have a number of advocates working on behalf of school districts throughout the state to ensure that our children receive adequate funding. We will provide you with that information as soon as we receive that information. Generally, we have the forecasting conference in the month of May. We have been told that we are going to have one in May and one in August because of the uncertainty relative to COVID-19 and the impact that it has not only on the state budget, but the local budgets as well.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Any other board matters? Hearing none. Dr. Green, report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Board President. Relative to the governor's most recent executive orders, she has now issued 76 executive orders relative to COVID-19. The one that impacts us most recently is that of 2020-79, which speaks to these young people and their ability to obtain a work permit. Prior to this executive order, students were not able to come into the school district and or obtain work permits. And as we know, sometimes those young people the families are dependent on those young people for those jobs. Therefore, the governor has issued an executive order stating that the students can submit their paperwork and or documentation to the signing agent remotely for the agent to issue those work permits. Fortunately, Jolene Davis has been issuing work permits for our students during set hours. However, this will afford her more flexibility in providing our students with work permits. So to our listening audience, if you know of a young person that is interested in working, and many of them are working in essential positions, given that they are working in the grocery stores and the service industry, please let them know that Ms. Davis will be issuing those work permits from JWE. Ms. Davis, would you like to add anything relative to the hours that you are providing those?
Currently, I'm providing the work permits by appointment from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Tuesdays. If there becomes a need to increase those times, then I will come in more hours for the additional days. But if they contact our general number of 248-746-8500, Ms. Whittington will make an appointment that they can come in and get those work permits completed.
Board President?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Regarding, I'm pleased to hear this information about the work permit, and you know, I always want to make sure that our communication is consistent. Regarding this information with the work permit, is it possible to request that there be a statement provided for social media that can be easily shared to other groups, advocacy, parent, and community groups, so that they can assist in spreading that same message and making sure that that information is shared accurately?
Absolutely. This is actually a very good week for us to provide information to our community. We have the board meeting tonight. We have a packed parent meeting tomorrow. I am doing the virtual town hall with our senior students on Thursday, and we will also push things out via social media. So this is an excellent week to get most information out to our families.
Dr. Green, speaking of those meetings you just listed, is there any way you can notify the board of those meetings? So in the event we like to attend?
Ms. Norris is on the call. I'm most certain that she will be able to add those to your calendar.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is Jolene. I'd just like to add that we are practicing social distancing. So for the work permits, we ask that individuals stay in their cars and we come out to them.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Davis. The next item on the agenda, Board President and Board Trustees, we have, as I stated, Mr. Mike Wojcinski on the call. I've had several conversations with him, both electronic as well as through the Zoom link, and he is here to provide us an update relative to the Southfield plan. If you can unmute Mr. Wojcinski.
Oh. I'll do it for him.
Did we lose him?
No,
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can now.
Yeah. Do you have that document that I sent, the critical steps implementation document? I have a copy of it here. If you want me to put it up on my screen, if you can see my screen.
We can make you the presenter. I did send it electronically. However, I didn't want to slow down the system tonight. Board President, if you can make Mr. Wojcinski the presenter, he can share his screen.
It's just that one-page document that we were going to talk about. And while we're doing that, let me just suggest to you, I have spent the last 2 days, Cisco WebEx is different than Zoom and Google Hangouts, and so it takes some getting used to, but part of the day I was attending a city council meeting in New York City Public Schools. Actually, it's New York City Council. The mayor controls the schools, largest school district in America. And I would suggest to you that the concerns that they have are the same concerns that you have. The challenges are just more in terms of numbers. But I really want to talk about 3 things tonight. Last week we did kind of a quick review, and this is totally unofficial, but the first thing I want to tell you is that the efforts and the organizational structures and strategies that you have put in place for digital learning for your students, from what I have seen across the country in about 25 school districts, is exemplary. I want to say that that's just my public opinion, okay? And I want to tell you why in a minute, but I want to also refer to that document. So can you see it? Is it visible to you?
So, sir, what you will have to do is in the middle of your screen, you have to click on. It looks like an icon with an arrow going up.
Well, it was here, but it's not here now.
Bring your mouse to the middle portion of the screen.
Yeah, right in here. Yeah.
Click on where it says share content.
Okay. Would it be the camera?
No, it's to the right of the camera.
Okay. So this is what I have, and I'm going to share the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
And I don't know why that comes up. Can you see this now?
Yes, sir. We see it.
Yeah. Okay. Critical steps to implement digital learning. And I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but what I observed is that, well, first of all, the number one hot topic right now across the country is both hardware and software. And students having access to a device, whatever it is, a phone, a PC, a laptop. And I think you have a way of discovering the numbers on that. You have lots of data that you've collected. But I think that really is the first step. And then access with either hotspots or, the phone company, the Xfinity, AT&T, or whatever it is the important thing that seems to be in place. Now, one of the things that keeps everybody's talking about across the country now is the concern that some children don't have access. And you've collected enough data to understand what that is. In New York City, by the way, just to let you know, they can't find 30% of the kids. Now, that's really an astounding figure when you come down to it. But the description that they talked about was they just simply took all their computers and laptops and devices and just passed them out. And it was kind of a impassioned kind of thing. Dealing with a district in New Mexico today, and they're talking about this is the same thing that they have done as well. The fourth point on their internet connectivity is what I'm going to suggest to you is that you have the data and you can collect the data. Is to be able to say on any given day, and the public would like to know this, on any given day, X% of our kids are in attendance, X% are not, and here's what we're doing about those that are not. That's one of the things you want to look at. You have good technical support. I want to move down to curriculum and instruction and talk about this for just a moment, because this was a long discussion today in a number of places that are dealing with this topic. And the question then becomes is, how standardized do we want to make curriculum and instruction? And if we're doing it asynchronous or synchronous, what are the touch points? And also, what experience are we having? What are teachers telling us about what's happening? And so the importance of surveying is really important here. And I think that communication with parents is another deep discussion, and having parent advocates be able to communicate with the rest of the public. And there are a lot of challenges here. There's no question about it. But the question of parents being involved in this and encouraging this process. And then finally, looking at the other concern is, of course, if and when, and we don't know if and when, although I did hear today that Central Michigan is going to open in the fall, and they're doing so at Northern Michigan, but I'm not sure we're ready for that here. But if and when, whether it's September, October, or whenever it is, the conclusion seems to be that there has to be some kind of testing going on when students enter the building, and this seems to be what we're seeing in South Korea and in China. I talked to a principal in Shanghai the other day, and they said, we have machines now that there are panels. Who knows where you get them from? Probably China. And when kids walk through, it basically takes their temperature and finds a way to understand where they're at with any kind of imaging that there might be some kind of infection. That's pretty complicated. And so testing is a real key. But most people believe that, especially at the high school level, that we'll never be able to have more than a third of our kids in the building at one time for the necessary social distancing. And the idea is that this changes how teachers teach, because what we're doing is we're becoming guides and facilitators of learning. And we have students, if they're willing and their parents are willing, to let them come to school and actually meet a teacher in a classroom that's spaced out. And you know, if you have 30 kids in a classroom normally, we're saying that we have a schedule where some kids come Monday at 8 o'clock till 11, and others come from 2 to 4, and so forth. I think you understand that concept. That's what Montana is doing. However, Montana is hardly a comparison because it's so sparsely populated. When I was there, they said, you know, we've got more cattle than kids here in the state. So, but at any rate, those are some of the things that we've seen. What's really impressive is some of the data that you are gathering. And one of the last things we want to mention is that, and this is a discussion we've heard in other states, what parents want to know is, because they've been hearing that you know, our kids are falling behind, they're going to be behind, and there's a concern about that. What some states and districts are doing is they're looking at, come September, some form of testing, like the MAP test, the MWEA test that you already give as a district. Kids taking that in September and that information going into an individualized instructional plan for students, so that parents and kids know where they stand. And if there are gaps, we can reduce those gaps and actually have strategies and instructional strategies that'll help kids move. One of the things, positive things to say is that, and this is kind of a comparison factor, there have been studies done over the years that in elementary school and in high school asking the question, how much time is really spent on academic work, instruction? And in most cases, even at the elementary level, it's about it's anywhere between 2 and 3/4 hours and 3.75 hours, 3 and 3/4 hours of actual instruction time. And so one of the things that's impressive about your digital guide is you have a rather clear definition and also a clear a set of standards that teachers can use and that parents can feel good. But I want to emphasize the fact that what you really kind of have here is an opportunity as a system, because your program stands out and provides so much more than many programs across the state. And it's an opportunity, I think, really to have an impact on your enrollment come September, if there is a fourth Wednesday or whenever that happens. That might be this program, and the way you promote it and market it and communicate with not just parents but the total community, expressing the fact that you have a program that is outstanding in the way it has been rolled out. And when you think about the challenge of this, it's kind of like somebody you know pushing you in off the pier into the water, having never swam before, and now all of a sudden you're swimming. So I think you can feel good about it. I think you can feel proud about it. And the leadership from your central office staff, from the superintendent on down, I think has been rather clear and understandable and outstanding. So I will stop there and see if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Buzinski. Is this a policy that we're planning on implementing or revising or updating?
No, these are simply what we call critical steps for implementation. Cognia, or Advanced Ed, as you know it, and is your accrediting agency.
Yeah.
And this is the information they've provided, and we're working with schools and districts around the country, really in kind of a pro bono fashion right now, just trying to assist wherever it's helpful. And so there's no policy adoption, but these would be steps that you could look at each one of these and gather some data around it and actually inform your community about what you have done in each of these areas. As you can see, there's only about 15 items here. And you could talk, for example, about what kind of training you've given to teachers and principals, what your capacity is in technical support, how are teachers doing? And incidentally, that's something we should have also talked about too, because there are teachers that are embracing this. There are teachers that are doing well, and then there are those that we will just feeling a bit challenged. And I feel challenged every time I do one of these webinars because we have so many different ways to do it. You got to stop and think what you're doing, but not policy, but really, I think what you must look at this is a way to evaluate and to inform your community about what you're doing, because there's so much stress out there right now. When you talk to parents, and you see it on TV every night, you see an interview with a parent who's, and the really tough ones are those parents that are having to work at home and have their kids at home. You know that. I don't tell you, you've heard all those stories. So anything we can do to reinforce the fact that we're not totally throwing the year away. Our teachers are working very hard, and it's important that they get recognized for that under the circumstances. But I just can't say enough good things about what the folks at Central Office have done here to implement this program. You've done an outstanding job. Long answer to a short question. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Buzinski. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes.
Okay. I am a teacher for another district, and I can just tell you that this work here, I certainly appreciate it because it really validates the work not only that happens at the district level, but also at the classroom level, because you are correct. There are some teachers who have taken this time and really embraced it and did the best that we can do. And then there are some teachers who, like many of the families, are experiencing their own trauma and experiencing this in a traumatic way as well. So I think this definitely does validate all of the work that is happening right now and the seriousness behind this time and the extended time of learning and how this time can and will impact our students in the long term, their outcomes in the long term. So certainly, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just encourage you to, this is a hard thing to do. I think one of the board meetings I was at, one of the superintendents said, we have a great opportunity here. And people, of course, go, where's the opportunity? We're stuck inside. And the opportunity really is, I think, for you as a district. Excuse me, I know you're getting calls from some parents who are not your students, parents in the community and outside the community, who want to be a part of what you're doing. And obviously they can't because they're not enrolled. But that tells you that you have an edge here from a marketing standpoint. So I want to emphasize that a little bit because, like somebody said earlier, we're looking at budget cuts, and students are revenue. However whatever that amount is going to be. And this also can be very cost effective in many ways. I think that, we're talking about transitioning from some form of bricks and mortar to, digital and at the high school level, it's thought that we really have an opportunity to change how we're organized and moving away from what some would call the factory model, where we go into the building and we go to first hour, second hour, third hour, like Henry Ford's assembly line. And so there are schools in Michigan right now where students go to school. Well, under normal situations, they would go to school in the morning and then spend the afternoon online. And while they're in school at the secondary level, many of the work is project-based. Many of it is based on critical skills. But the idea is that I don't have to be sitting in a seat for 6 hours of the day, that I can do some things. And there was also there have been students have done op-eds. There was one in the New York last week, middle school students who said, I really like digital learning because I don't have to put up with the bullies and I don't have to put up with the disruptors and the disciplinary that has to be done. So there are some advantages here, but I think at the elementary level, children need their teachers. And so we're going to have to try to figure out, if we can't have all of them in school at one time, we're going to have to figure out a way to put that together. So anyway, that's kind of wraps it up. If you have any other questions or concerns.
Board President, if I may, and Mr. Buczynski, I know we've spoken often relative to the planning for the fall and all of the uncertainties. I am currently, we have a core team at the local level, and that team will develop into a task force to come up with many of the ideas that you suggested this evening, as well as a task force at the county level. We began meeting on today, and then we've been looking at numerous models on the state and national level as well. So we will have multiple options available. This will require us to approach our legislators to get seat time waivers for some of our courses, to look at how we are funded as a district relative to the 75% attendance rule and the number of hours that are mandated. It may require some flexibility with the Michigan Merit curriculum. So from the policy perspective, and where we will need the board's support 100%, is looking at what policies we will need to change relative to how we implement school moving forward.
Exactly. And I think, that Missouri plan that we had looked at has a really good way to assess all the critical elements of a digital program. It's really outstanding. So that would be one you could use. I think that's part of the challenge that we have, is how do we do this together with our partners, our intermediate school districts and neighbors and associations, because everybody's under the same kind of challenge. So I'll leave it with that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, take care. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay.
Board President.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Please proceed.
Thank you. So one comment here. So thank you, Dr. Buczynski, for sharing those critical steps. I too agree that the learning plan that have been defined and designed far exceed some of the critical steps that's outlined here. One of the things that I wanted to kind of bring to the forefront that's not on that critical steps, and not that we have to solution it here, but one of the concerns that nags me every day is, I'll call it, with typical summer slide, I'll call it COVID slide. And although we're not looking at, evaluation of student growth or academic achievement, having a think about how might we look at that given the current environment that we're in and the the new learning plan that we have. I share that concern as I have one going into the 11th grade child at home, and as he goes into 11th grade, he'll have to take the SAT. And so at home, I'm going, making sure you're getting into Khan Academy so that you can do your work. But I worry also about, the entire student population when it comes to the COVID slide, and how might we look to address that as we start to come back for the coming school semester, whatever that might look like for us, as well as we work with the new learning plan that we have. So again, not to solution it, but it is a concern that's nagging at the back of my head, being a parent and also for the entire student population.
So, Board President, if I may just speak to that briefly, that too probably is the number one thing that keeps us up at night as an executive team. And we are putting some steps in place, not only with the current continuity of learning plan, but as we plan to move forward. What are we going to do this summer? What are we going to do in the fall with all of the uncertainties? We have discussed having an evaluation of our students where they are in terms of mastery of standards, to provide our families with some very specific information before the summer so that they can focus on those areas that need to be strengthened over the summer. We've discussed a number of things, and Mr. Fountain and his team, if they're on the line, I just again want to thank them and congratulate them for all of the hard work that they've put into designing this continuity of learning plan, and all of the information that we share has been very rich, and they have incorporated those components into our plan, which produced this very robust continuity of learning plan. So we do think about those things. We've talked about having virtual tutors over the summer, virtual tutors in the fall, having extended school day. I know Dr. Freeman gets a number of inquiries relative to extended school year. So those things keep us up as well, and we are taking those into consideration as we build the plan or make an even more robust plan for the summer and the fall months.
Thanks for sharing it, and glad to hear that.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Dr. Green, next topic.
I'm sorry,
Yes, next topic is,
before we move on, my apologies. One point that I wanted to bring about, as we talk about, you've done your team, the team has done a great job with looking after the care of our students and our families in terms of mental health checks and things like that. But I would like to offer on the table for the discussion as we, bring about this plan, that we also consider the welfare and the mental health state of our staff and our teachers as we look into moving into the next steps of what the summer and or the fall would look like in terms of making sure that placement is done with sensitivity and care and consideration for how this time has impacted our staff and our teachers as well.
Board President, if I may, to your point, that is one of the reasons that we comply with the governor's executive order to suspend evaluations for any teacher that was not a probationary teacher or a teacher on an individual development plan. You mentioned my evaluation, and I thank you for lifting that into the conversation, and the suspension of student academic achievement data. However, districts did have the option of suspending evaluations in totality. Then the governor's second executive order that spoke to evaluation stated that given their other Michigan compiled laws that spoke specifically to tenure and that of teachers on probation, we realized, and she realized, that we had to incorporate the evaluation process for those teachers that were probationary. So having said that, we are taking those things into account. We've had a number of individuals throughout our district at every level of the organization impacted by COVID, and we are here to ensure that we have those mental health supports in place for everyone, not only within our district, but in our community as a whole. Okay, as a matter of fact, and I know BB will speak to this when he comes on to talk about graduation, we're planning a power hour this month, and the topic is going to be mental health, and we're having one of our partners come in, I believe from Ascension Healthcare, to speak to that. So we will make sure that we have something ongoing in our continuity of learning plan. I believe those resources are on page 9 and 10, and then we also have a resource guide on our webpage as well, if people would like to access that information. Next item on the agenda under the superintendent's report is that of our district radio station. We are now at that time when we have to reapply for our license. And this past fall, you approved us to work with Paul Stewart and his team to maintain our radio station. Board president as well as trustee Poole had an opportunity to meet with Paul Stewart personally. There was Summit Technology Group. And while they are maintaining our radio station, we are in need of subcontracting with their legal team to actually apply for the renewal of our radio station. This is not going to be an additional cost. These are the costs that were already approved for Summit Technology. We will just subcontract with Wilkinson Barker and LLP. And I didn't want you to see that on the monthly report and think that we hired a new legal firm. This is a subcontract from the Summit Technology Group, of which you've already approved.
Are there any questions, trustees?
No.
All right. Hearing none. Dr. Green?
Thank you, Board President. Next, we have Mr. Darrell Beebe, who will speak to us regarding the graduation plan.
Hold on, he's on mute.
Am I still on mute?
Nope,
Can you
you're
hear me?
off now.
Okay, excellent. Good evening to President Hicks, to the board, to Dr. Green. Just good to see you all and to know that you're well. So we have been in a bit of an adventure trying to come to a conclusion and consistency on the best way to support our students and to celebrate our students for graduation. So we've looked at a number of different ways to celebrate graduation. And I've worked with a small committee, Harry Patton, John Dignan, Nika Corbett, Pam English, and as well as Aaron Marshall. And we've basically met a number of times. And we've also met with high school leadership as well. And so I just want to share a little bit about what we've looked into and then talk to you all about and share with the conclusion that we've come to in terms of what will work best for our students in the district. So we explored a number of different companies who offer virtual graduations, Jostens, Belfour, and we even looked at our own WebEx program in terms of developing a virtual graduation, also Herff Jones. And so all of the programs were pretty good. Belfour was probably one of the most economical, but after we saw their product, it was not up to par. And so based on the recommendation of some other school districts as well as John Dignan, we decided to go with Herff Jones. So Herff Jones, we are preparing to do a virtual graduation ceremony for our students. At this point in time, Herff Jones has our application and they have the materials from us, and they're going to get back to us with a specific date. Right now, we're looking at between June 21st and June 26th, and we should know within the next 24 to 48 hours where our graduation will fall. Within that process, we also looked at a drive-in graduation where we could have families drive up. We also, looked at even utilizing our football fields and things of that nature, but based on the governor's order, and then also based on the high number of COVID within the Southfield area in the Oakland County community, just found that it was not safe to do that, and thus we decided to go with the Herff Jones graduation ceremony. So as Dr. Brenton stated earlier on tonight, we've given a survey to our seniors, and it has some suggestions and some questions as it relates to the virtual graduation in terms of what they feel is most important. We're also going to talk with them about the prom and some different alternatives and things that we can do as it relates to prom on Thursday afternoon at the Power Hour for our senior students. So that's pretty much where we are as it relates to the virtual graduation ceremony. More information will be coming forth as it relates to the distribution of caps and gowns, as it relates to how the parents and students will receive their information. I know that Trustee Robinson had mentioned the concerns as it related to the senior dues. And at this point, the senior dues will still go towards the cost of the virtual graduation. There is a cost associated with that. As well, their prom and those other things were separate. So for the most part, they have, their actual fees as it relates to senior dues are still in effect, and we're still collecting senior dues from those students who have not paid senior dues at this point in time. So once again, one of the reasons that we were very cautious as it relates to this, the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals talked about the dangers of having a live graduation ceremony, drive-in, etc., and then afterwards finding out, or individuals finding out that they may have come down with COVID as a result of our event. So we decided to move away from a live graduation and go with a virtual ceremony through Herff Jones. So that's where we are as of tonight. If you have any questions, I'll definitely take those now.
Mr. Beebe, Trustee Robinson also lifted a question on the state of Shane Park and our impact.
Okay. Yeah. So we are in conversations and communications with Shane Park even now, discussing, our funds being returned to us, getting our money back. But we're also looking at working with the Aretha Franklin Amphitheater and moving our date to next year, holding our date for the following year. So we're still in a dialogue with them as it relates to that topic.
Trustees, any questions?
Yes.
Yes, I have a question. We have a 3-year contract with that Shane Park, and this year will be our 2nd year. So we still have one more year left on that contract. So this year there was, and next year there was. So this was a 3-year contract that Mr. Lopez signed on our behalf that we didn't know anything about.
Trustee Robinson, this would be the 3rd year of that contract.
Right.
When the previous person signed the contract, it was for the 17-18 school year, and then 18-19, and this would be the final year of that 3-year contract. If we cannot receive our funding, we are trying to roll that over to the 2021 school year.
How many graduates do we have for this year?
Right now, we have, if everyone is successful in what they need to do, we have 501 total across the district.
Okay.
When they are successful, Mr. Beebe, when they are successful.
Yes, when they're successful.
I have a question. Do we have a date set for the virtual graduation?
Right now, like I said before, Herff Jones, because basically they said they would get back with us at a certain time. Obviously, all of these companies are swamped as schools across the country are trying to get the dates. So right now we have a window between June 21st and June 27th.
Mr. Beebe, the graduation total 501, that includes all 3 schools or just Southfield A&T?
That includes all 3 schools.
Okay. Did anybody think about, since we pay for Shane Park for the entire day, maybe splitting that up and have like 50 students per hour?
Well, in our conversation with Shane Park, they are waiting on the city of Detroit to be released to and allowed to, basically have concerts. They are working on a plan with social distancing and trying to figure that out. So that conversation is not, off the table at this point in time. As we meet with our seniors, because one of the things as you talk about graduation and continuing to push it back, some students may not be interested because they may not open it up until maybe August or later on in the year. But Aretha Franklin, they are looking into developing a way where we could do something of that nature. But at this time, we know that it wouldn't be by, June. It's not going to happen in June. So maybe possibly in August. But once again, we're still in conversations with them concerning those things as well.
And Mr. Beebe, also for clarification, the contract states specific hours. It's not for the entire day. It is a block of time for the first commencement, then a block of time for the second commencement. It is not, it cannot exceed those hours already contracted. The governor's executive order at this time also states that we can't have more than 10 individuals gathered in a common space. So that would really restrict us from having any type of gathering. The entire board and the administrative team could not even be in the same place at the same time in order for us to comply with the governor's executive order as it currently stands. However, if she lifts that ban based on the guidance of the World Health Organization and other health officials, then perhaps we could consider that for the fall months.
So I guess my comments would be, Mr. Beebe, I do want to commend you for including the students in the decision. To me, that says that customer centricity to help us create exceptional experiences that align with our student priorities. And I do want to recognize the team for that. I guess my follow-up would be, can you share some insights in terms of what a virtual graduation might look like with a virtual program? How might all of the students, the 500 students that we talked about, be funneled through the virtual graduation? It would be great to have some insight on what that might look like.
Yeah, what I can do, I can definitely send you all the PowerPoint from Herff Jones to give you all a clear image on what they do and what the program looks like. As I stated before, as we looked at Bell 4 and some of the other programs, it was very clear that Herff Jones, their product was a lot cleaner, a lot more professional, more movie-like. So if you can think of, maybe there's a student, there's a slide for the student, you see his or her picture, information about, possibly where they're going or, the cum laude and whatnot. They could also have a brief video where the student may say, I just want to thank my mom for this opportunity and blah, blah, blah. So it's a production, it's not just, because obviously this is new to all of us. As a matter of fact, as we were looking at examples, it was hard to find examples because obviously we've never been here before, in terms of COVID-19. So long and short of it, we can definitely send you all a copy of Herff Jones, what they have on the information that they have on their website and their examples. Also, I checked with some folks from some other districts as well. Utica's also utilizing the process right now, and so we can get you some information to show you a little bit what it looks like.
Mr. Beebe, not to put words in your mouth, but you could also talk to how you're going to infuse President Obama's 2020 graduation address. And
correct. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So there are some other things that we can add. Speeches as well. The valedictorian speech, Dr. Green, board president. So all of that going now. We're a little bit limited. I believe we can have 4 to 5 speeches. But we'll be able to make it as much like a graduation ceremony as possible in terms of the recessional and whatnot. All of that we're able to wrap into the virtual ceremony.
Board President, if I may add that we are going to share some of this information with the students on Thursday at the virtual student town hall. And there are a number of other examples that we will provide for the trustees, as well as the presentation that was shared from the Michigan Association of Superintendents and the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals, who collaboratively worked on this endeavor to ensure that we had the best experience for our students given our current circumstances.
Any additional questions, trustees? Hearing none.
Well, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. BB. That was great. I'm excited. I think again we have to look at the bright side of how we can make this a positive experience so that we can all continue to stay in good spirits. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the PowerPoint or the presentation that you send to us, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we're going to celebrate seniors.
Thank you all for having me. Dr. Green, can I touch upon the one point that where we talked about staff receiving support, mental health support and whatnot?
Absolutely. You can touch on that, and then you can go to the next agenda item, which is the virtual student town halls. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I just want you all to know we had a meeting with Eastern Seals, Michigan about a couple weeks ago. And so they worked out a process for our teachers, the same process in terms of referral. So if there is a teacher or staff person that's in need of mental health counseling and support, we still follow that same referral process that we follow for our students. And we will basically, get them services as well. So we don't want, our staff to feel like, we've got a support network supporting students, but not supporting everyone. So Eastern Seals, incredible partner, was very kind to do that for us. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that as well. As it relates to our continued power hour in regards to what we're doing, of course, this Thursday we'll have the power hour with the seniors. The following Thursday, which will be the 21st, we have a power hour grades 9 through 11 for our students as well, where Dr. Green will address the students. And then we are solidifying our mental health power hour, and that will be, we're getting confirmation now from Ascension, and so that will either be the 27th or 28th, and we should have that date hopefully by tomorrow. But we'll have, once again, with it being Mental Health May, Mental Health Awareness Month, they're going to come on and address, there's many folks dealing with depression, anxiety, and even for students and folks who are losing loved ones, folks who are sick, there's post-traumatic stress that COVID, has brought on into our community. So once again, we'll have additional information about that will come out very shortly. Once again, we're confirming our speakers and trying to lock everybody down, lock down our panel as well. So once again, it will either be May 27th or May 28th, and that we'll have that mental health power hour as well. Mr. B, if I can also add, our insurance company, our district healthcare insurance company is covering COVID-related therapy visits with a return of any copay to our staff during this time as well. So we have several things in place there. Any more questions for Mr. B?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. B.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
So, Mr. Marshall, I'll ask you to join me at this time. We're very excited to announce our new initiative that got underway relatively quickly, and we are pleased to announce that it will roll out on this Friday, where we have been afforded an opportunity to partner with the USDA and some of our local farmers in the area. Mr. Marshall.
Yes, I am here. How's everybody doing? Greetings to everybody, board president and the board members and Dr. Green. So this initiative that we have, or that we were able to participate in and partner with, we're very excited about it. This Friday will be the first distribution. What I'm going to do is, if I can pull it up. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read off to you what we're going to send out to our families, which will give the understanding of what opportunity we have.
Okay, Mr. Marshall, you are a presenter. You just need to share your screen.
Gotcha.
To the right of the video camera.
On here, it doesn't say it. Let me see here.
Does it say share content? It looks like an arrow pointing upward. I'm looking in the middle of my screen, so right, if you move your cursor down towards the middle, it may pop up.
I don't have that on here for some reason. I have,
Okay, Mr. Marshall, if you could just read what we have shared with our families, and while he's pulling that together, let me say this. We thought our initial award was 150 families. Then we moved up to 500 families. Then we moved up to 1,000 families, and now share with them where we've landed.
we have 1,200 per week right now. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We have 1,200 per week cases of produce to give out, and it's so far it's guaranteed for 6 weeks. Okay, so 1,200 per week for 6 weeks, and if we fulfill these orders, meaning we have a nice turnout, and not that we have to get all 1,200 distributed, but if they told us we have a nice enough turnout, it'll be another additional 6 weeks added on to that, and it'll keep going for a while, especially during this whole COVID-19 pandemic. So we're really excited about that. And so our plan is to, so this would be the letter I'm going to read out. I'm still trying to share my screen here, but until I get that done, I'm going to just read it out to you guys. Greetings, Southfield Public School families. Our district has partnered with Perfect Pack LLC on the upcoming USDA Farms to Families program, Truck to Trunk. Through this relationship, we are now able to provide 1,200 cases of produce to families in need. This initiative will be once per week, spanning over the next 6 weeks. The first distribution will begin this Friday, May 15th, 2020, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. All subsequent distributions will occur on Fridays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The cases will be available on a first-come, first-served basis. So what's going to happen is they'll have a refrigerated Mack truck. We'll pull into the parking lot of A&T. On the 10-mile entrance, cars will drive in, open their trunk, will simply put a case in their trunk, and then they'll just exit out the 10-mile exit part of A&T, and then we'll keep that flow going from 9 to 1. Like I say, we have enough for 1,200 families on this Friday, and I was also told that, let's say, for instance, 1,500 families show up and we leave out 300, that they will go back to their warehouse, get 300 more boxes, and fulfill those orders as well. So basically, he said it's an endless amount, as much as our families need. So right now, over these next few days, we are marketing this, and I ask and I urge everyone on this call to please tell everyone you know who can take advantage of this opportunity to please show up, because when people do things like this for you and they're so generous, you really want to show up and show out and be grateful. So that's about it for that. Any questions?
And we also want to lift that we are working with the police department and the fire department to ensure that we have social distancing and that we also have orderly traffic patterns coming in and out of that parking lot, given that we'll have 1,200 cars in a matter of 4 hours.
Absolutely.
That's excellent.
So for those that wish to get in line early, I believe some other people have said they were going to start lining up early. So we may
I'm in line
want
right
to get some signage out there. The team has been working really hard. I think the biggest takeaway for us all during this time is listening to that of our families, or as Trustee Rice said, our customer. We send out numerous surveys on a multitude of issues to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our families. We are also taking emails, phone calls, doing drive-bys. We want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the families where they are, as well as our staff where they are, and not going into things blindly. We can develop the best plans, but if those plans don't meet the needs of our families, they're not worth the paper that they're printed on. So the team has done a tremendous job with making data-driven decisions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I just ask the question, Dr. Green, regarding the food delivery? Do the parents have to show any identification that they have a child at Southfield Public School, or do they just have to pull up?
They just have to pull up. That's a great question. During this summer feed program, any child that resides within the Southfield or Lathrop communities can receive food, and that's reimbursable. So the summer feed we are providing for any child in need.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And next on the call, we have Larry Bukowski. I always get the Bukowski and the Bujenski confused because they both have the skis at the end and both begin with B's, but I know that I saw Larry on here earlier. He is with Barton Mallow, and he is going to provide us with some updates relative to our construction projects now that the executive order has been lifted for that of construction. Before he goes into his presentation, I would like to share with the trustees that our bond did successfully close on today. So the $12.6 million has been deposited into our account for our construction project. So congratulations to you all, and thank you for your support on that project.
Yes, congratulations on that. As Dr. Green said, you got the pronunciation right, so good job on that, Dr. Green. And good to see you all this evening. Just a few quick updates. It's pretty simple tonight, as we're out for bid on 3 different bid packs, all of which I think you're familiar with. The first is bid pack number 4. That is the district-wide controls upgrade project, which I think you all heard about a few months back. That is to upgrade the basically the heating and cooling controls of various buildings throughout the district. So Adler, Levy, SEC Kennedy, Southfield High, SRAC, Stevenson, and Vandenberg. That is out for bid. Bids are due May 19th. We extended that bid due date due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of the bidders were having a hard time bidding on the project due to the pandemic with the uncertainty of their workload this summer. So we extended that for that reason. The next is bid pack number 5. Sorry. Bid pack number 5 is the transportation access road and fuel tank installation. That is for the replacement of the fuel tank at the bus garage and the installation of an emergency road. Sorry about that. It's almost bedtime.
I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one that happens to every day.
I apologize.
No apologies necessary.
So that is, those bids are due May 28th. And finally, probably the most exciting project of the bunch here is the Bernie parking lot and track and field. That is the project that is being funded by the Michigan Federal Credit Union. Those plans, we came to a design which was approved by the district, and those are out for bid currently. Those bids are due May 26th, so we're very excited about that. Other initiatives we have going on in the district are, hi, this is Margaret.
Hi, Margaret.
So other initiatives we have are related to the planning for the bond Dr. Green just talked about. We're in the preliminary stages of that conceptual design work for those projects.
Any questions, trustees?
Yeah, I just want to make sure all the contractors bidding on these are in the state of Michigan contracts, and that also diversity is included.
Yes, we reach out to local businesses for sure. We do a targeted outreach. The companies, by and large, all of them will likely be located in Michigan, if not at least licensed to do work in Michigan. but I don't foresee any out-of-state companies bidding on these projects. And then we are a Southfield-based firm also, so we do reach out to local firms as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, trustees? Well, thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Mr. Bukowski. Did I say it right?
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. Dr. Green?
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Head Start report. First, we will start with the director's report, and then we will go into some other amendments that are necessary relative to Head Start because of the COVID-19. So first, if Trustee Robinson would like to share the director's report, we'd be honored to have her.
You know, Dr. Green, this is a very extensive, and I think this type of report should be presented by Dr. Ferris or Dr. Hill. This is not the regular monthly report. This is very extensive.
There should be two reports. There should be your regular monthly report, and then there should be the extensive report. Are you not seeing your regular report, ma'am?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Then Dr. Ferris, if you're on the line at the behest of Trustee Robinson, would you please share the reports for this evening?
It's about 5. She there?
Okay, do I need to look it up, Dr. Green, or is it coming up on the screen? Have to pull it
It's
up.
not coming up on the screen. You need to share your middle, the middle
No, I don't have
arrow, and the board president will make you.
I can share my screen. I've lost the right to share my screen. I'm happy to do it. I have it ready to go.
Thank you, ma'am.
If I could just have that, board president, please.
Mr. Hicks?
No, you're all set. I've already done it.
Oh.
Thank you so much, Laura. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Green, district staff, and community members. I'll be presenting to you our Head Start and Early Head Start Director's Report. So we have Head Start with 160 out of 160 slots filled. Early Head Start, 16 out of 16 slots filled. Great Start, 43 out of 48. We've recently had 4 drops in Head Start, 5 in Great Start, which is our Great Start Readiness Program, and a waiting list of 40. Obviously, due to the pandemic, no meals served as a result of the pandemic and executive order, being that our schools are closed. Our program still has a partnership with Forgotten Harvest, who has been providing food to our families every other week since the pandemic. Pull up some. Hopefully I'm not missing something, but information to share. The program has continued to engage families during the pandemic. Activities are posted in our Google Classroom at a minimum of twice per week. Families also participate in weekly Zoom meetings. Family service workers reach out to families to provide resources. And twice a month, the Early Head Start families can pick up diapers, wipes, formulas for their babies, enrolled families. Contacts with families are documented daily through our Google Classroom and Zoom. We are proposing to purchase yard signs for our busy babies that will be transitioning to kindergarten in the fall. The program is continuing to enroll families for our upcoming program year. Family service workers are working on completing the applications in our data management system, which is called Child Plus. Our program information report. Can you bring it down just a little, Lord? Okay. Our program information report does not need to be submitted this year. That's another waiver that was provided through Head Start. We are Planning to request a non-federal share match waiver that we'll discuss further in this presentation. We're also planning to request a carryover waiver for funds that may not be expended, for the most part discretionary funds that won't be expended from our 2020 budget. Ms. Hill and I have been working very closely with our program specialists, along with his supervisor, Mr. Young, just to ensure that we'll be able to maximize our dollars and won't lose any funding due to the pandemic. In addition to additional support from Head Start Regional, we have received CARES funding that we'll discuss later, and another funding in amount of $41,760 that we'll be able to utilize throughout any aspect of our operations, whether it's salaries or discretionary. Some deficiency, I'm not sure this part, deficiency was addressed. I'm not sure what that part is, Ms. Hill. Oh, deficiencies, okay. Regarding the mental health service, supports crisis responses and intervention services. Coordination, preparedness, and response efforts with state, local, tribal, and territorial public health departments and other relevant agencies. Provision of meals and snacks not reimbursed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Training and professional development for staff on infectious disease management. Purchasing necessary supplies and contracted services to sanitize and clean facilities and vehicles. And other actions that are necessary to maintain and resume the operations of the programs, such as hiring substitute staff, investing in technology infrastructure, making improvements to air conditioning systems, or other emergency assistance. Self-assessment updates. Quality education and child development services. Our BUSI program will form a collaborative relationship with the district's kindergarten teachers and students to ensure program understands expectations of kindergarten readiness. Some of these initiatives will look like our kindergarten teachers coming over to provide like our BUSI teaching staff with transitional strategies and engagement activities. Our program is in the process of ordering the grant screening that will be conducted on all children transitioning kindergarten. This is under the guidance of Head Start. We will implement individualized planning forms, which will be revised to ensure the plans are in line to the school readiness goals as well as the assessment tools that we plan to utilize. Monitoring and implementing of quality health services. The mental health contract will be utilized and identified and paid through some of the funding that we're expecting for the upcoming year. We'll continue to monitor our IRSA procedures. That'll be another piece of action that'll come before the board in terms of our updated processes and procedures under the next board meeting or two. I think that completes the director's report.
Any questions, trustees?
I have a question regarding the $46,000. Is that the balance of the grant for this year, or is this explain exactly that $46,000? Is that the balance of the grant for this year? And then
absolutely not.
Going to start?
Nope, that was a one-time funding that we were just made aware of, I believe, this last Friday. It came with very little guidance. It literally came from John Fallon, our program specialist, who just stated that we have that amount as reference. They're going to upload it in our Head Start enterprise system, and we'll be able to apply it to our continuation application in any area of our operations funding.
Okay, so now the existing grant, since you have no students in class since February, how is that funding going to be distributed? And do you have to hold on to that, or do you have to return it to Head Start?
Well, we're requesting a carryover for any funding that we don't plan on spending by June 30th. So on or before May 30th, we'll be providing a request for carryover. We just met with Mr. Young this past Monday, and Head Start Regional just uploaded an HSES where we can go in and request a waiver. So that'll be coming before you.
And-
So no, we will not lose any monies. We'll be able to carry over into our 2020-21 school year.
Okay.
And Dr. Ferris, if I may add, before the governor's executive order changed to include that of early childhood, Southfield Public Schools did incorporate distance learning for our Bussy babies, and we were fully staffed at Bussy, where our families were still engaging our young people. So we are still paying the salary of those Bussy staff members as well. So whatever additional funding is available, as Dr. Ferris stated, we will apply for carryover. However, our students are still being served throughout the pandemic.
Yes.
How are they being serviced? There's nobody there.
They're being serviced virtually just
They're
like
doing
our
remote
K-12
learning as
students.
well.
Oh. Okay.
And now the governor's executive order speaks to the fact that we must have an early childhood component. So Southfield, again, was leading the pack before we were mandated to do so. So kudos to the early childhood team for that.
Thank you.
Dr. Ferris, also on your next report, can you highlight how that $41,000 will be utilized in addition to our carryover? Can we have a separate line item for that, please?
We have yet to budget for that yet. We just provided that information this past Monday, so that will be forthcoming.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we still have to have your approval on it, so we'll definitely have that in your hands shortly. The financial report. Thank you, Laura. So what I'll be presenting for you is the financial report. Please be reminded that this data represents expenditures through April 2020. So again, our operation budgets consist of 4 funding sources. We have our full Head Start and COLA, our early Head Start and COLA, which is our cost of living allowance, our technical training assistance, which is specifically and only dealing with professional development training, and our duration grant, which is additional fundings that we use to extend the hours of some of our preschool programs. For Head Start, we had a working budget of $1,115,921. To date, we have spent 71.3% of that funding, with a remaining percentage of 28.7%. For Early Head Start, we had a starting balance of $278,981. To date, through April, we have spent up to 75.3% of that funding, with a remaining percentage of 27.7%. Our technology and training assistance funding, our professional development monies, we had started with $21,000. Through April, to the end of April, we spent up to 75.2%, with 24.8% remaining. And our duration grant, we had a starting balance of $254,428. We've expended through April 30th, 96.2%, with 3.8% remaining. So in our overall operations budget, $1,670,330. We have spent $1,266,572 through April, with a remaining percentage of 24.2%, which is pretty good considering the fact that we haven't been able to utilize our discretionary fund since March 13th. Total in-kind, this section is 25% of our operation budget that the district is responsible for. This funding represents donated services and resources. We're responsible for $417,583 of in-kind services. To date, we have a remaining balance of $249,583, with a percentage remaining of 59.8%. After this presentation, we'll be discussing a request of a waiver to waive our non-federal match, which means our in-kind. We've been in constant communication with our program specialists. They're expecting this for a number of agencies, where we'll be able to waive this cost for not only this year, but even next year if we find that we may need it. So we have a grand total between our in-kind and our operating budget of $2,087,913. Percent spent, 68.7%, and overall percent remaining of 31.3%. We have some open purchase orders, which pretty much means that some expenditure requests were made, but they still haven't finished going through the payroll process. Head Start, early Head Start, we have an amount of $19,535.20, and Duration Grant, $5,083.23. $5,083.23 with a total of $24,618.43 that remains encumbered, and this amount does not represent what any charges expended from our previous statement. Any questions?
No.
Thank you, Dr. Ferris.
My pleasure.
Board President, that concludes my report for this evening. The only thing that I would like to lift into the conversation, it's already come up on multiple occasions relative to the potential shortage in our state aid funds for next year. Therefore, I am committed and scheduled to meet with Oakland Schools on tomorrow to discuss the possibility of grant funds for our Firefighters Academy. When I initially posed the question to them, we've been working on this academy for 2 years. When I proposed the concept to Oakland Schools, they too saw the need relative to having first responders backfilling positions, particularly during the COVID-19. Therefore, their team committed to helping us find grant dollars. And on tomorrow, we are going to evaluate 8 separate grants to determine which ones we qualify for, and we will seek application to those grants to offset our expenses in the district. So I will keep you posted as that develops as well.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Transitioning into action items, the chair will entertain a motion to open and approve the consent agenda.
I move that we open and approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve the consent agenda. Any questions or corrections? Hearing none, Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Paul?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce? Trustee Joyce?
Trustee Joyce?
Trustee Joyce?
We probably can't hear you.
Can someone send him a text to unmute? Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce?
Hold on. I'll go try it again. You put your,
Trustee Joyce?
don't click anything. Just answer. I unmuted you.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5873, ISD Budget Resolution.
I move that we open and approve report number 5873, the ISD budget resolution.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5873. Any questions on that item?
Board President, I'll just reference my board matter.
And Board President, if I may, be mindful that this is the ISD's budget. This is not our local budget.
Any questions, trustees? Hearing none, Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce? Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Rice.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
I think we lost Trustee Joyce.
It
I
went.
don't see him on the list.
Okay. Myself, yes. Unanimous.
Motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5874, second read, new policy.
Trustee Charles, so moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5874. Any questions? Hearing none, Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Rice.
Yes.
Trustee Charles. We lose Trustee Charles.
Put it in the affirmative.
Okay. Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce. Is he still off?
No, he's on.
Okay. Trustee Paul.
Yes.
Trustee Hicks.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Unanimous.
Motion carried. Chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5875, Talent Management Personnel Action Report.
I move that we open report 5875, the Talent Management Personnel Action Report.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5875. Any questions?
I just have a question to Dr. Green regarding it. Since these are our retirees, what are the plans for honoring retirees?
Actually, we're in the process of developing that as we speak. We're scheduled to have that the first week in June. However, given the restrictions placed on us by COVID-19, we are looking at some virtual options. We will recognize all of our staff that are leaving us and making their way into retirement.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, please call for the vote, Board Secretary.
Trustee Hicks.
Yes.
Trustee Paul.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce. Trustee Joyce.
We lost them.
Okay. Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Charles. Trustee Charles. Did we lose her?
And call Joyce again. He's back.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Rice.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Is Trustee Charles back?
Trustee Charles? Yeah, I see her listed. Well, let's keep moving.
Okay, unanimous.
Motion carried. Informational items. Report 5876, Advanced Education Accreditations Fees for the 2020 year. Dr. Green?
Thank you, Board President. As you heard, Mr. Buczynski mentioned that Advanced Ed is our accrediting agency, and they are now going by the name of Cognia. This is a fee that is required for us to maintain our district accreditation each year.
Any questions, trustees?
I have a question, Dr. Green. As it was presented earlier regarding the virtual learning space and the components that make it up, that it's made up of, do we foresee that being an area added on to the accreditation moving forward?
It's hard to project at this time. However, I do foresee education forever being changed and there being various platforms available. It's interesting that he mentioned the survey for parents because I spoke with our area council PTA this past week and did mention to them that we were going to send out a survey to ask their level of comfort relative to sending their children back to us as a brick and mortar. And some on the call that night even expressed concern regarding sending their children back to brick and mortar due to health concerns of their own or health concerns with their children. So we must get the information from our families in order to meet them where they are and to serve their needs. So we don't know what they will incorporate into that assessment or evaluation of the district. However, for right now, our accreditation goes for 5 years. This is still under the last accreditation visit that we had.
Okay.
I'll keep you posted as I get information.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So would the board be opposed to flipping this to an actionable report to make this informational item now an action item?
I like to.
This is Yolanda. I got disconnected. Could you just make sure I know which information item you're referring to?
Report 5876, the accreditation fees for the 2020-21 school year. Information item A, 5A.
Okay.
Is there a deadline on this? Dr. Green?
No, there's not a specific deadline. We do like to get them in before July 1 because that begins the next fiscal year. That begins the next technically the next academic school year. And again, if you approve it now or if you approve it at the next meeting, it will come out of the next fiscal budget because it is for the 2020-2021 school year.
Right. That would be agreeable to make sure it comes out of next year's budget and not this year, because we're at the end of the budget cycle.
However, many of the items that you will see here and a few others, there was a request last school year that we brought the recurring items to you prior to the last meeting in June. Therefore, we listened to your request and there are 3 or 4 items on this month, and then we'll have a few more at the next one. And that was at the request of the trustees to not wait until the last meeting in June to bring forward all of the recurring items. So that's why you see several of them here this evening.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I have no opposition. I thought Trustee Poole was actually making a motion, was introducing a motion.
I'd like to move that we act to approve report number 5876, the advanced ed accreditation fees for the 2020-2021 school year.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve report 5876. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Joyce.
You call him last.
Trustee Joyce. Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Charles. Trustee Charles. Trustee Rice.
Yes.
Trustee Poole.
Yes.
Trustee Hicks.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce. Trustee Joyce.
Yeah, we lost him.
Okay. And Trustee Charles.
She's on, but I think he was as well.
Affirmative.
Okay, here.
Good, okay.
Okay. Unanimous.
Motion carried. Report 5877, Standards for Success Evaluation Platform Licensing Fee for the 2020-21 school year.
I move we open report 5877.
Support.
Open, or are we doing open and approve, or just open?
I am making a motion to open and approve report 5877.
And I'll support that.
Thank you both. It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve report 5877. Any questions?
Which one
Here or
is,
not? I'm sorry, go ahead.
what's the title of this one?
Standards for Success Evaluation Platform Licensing Fees for the 2020-2021 school year.
Is this with Oakland schools or whom? Evaluation. Dr. Green?
This is Standards for Success, which is the platform that we use to facilitate the Charlotte Danielson teacher evaluation that the board adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Here are none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Rice?
My vote is yes.
Trustee Charles? Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
And Trustee Charles? Oh, you're listed.
Not able to hear me? I voted yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. I hear you now. Okay, unanimous.
Motion carried. Chair will entertain a motion to open and approve report 5878, Gen Net Online.
And that consists of what, Jeanette? Dr. Green? Hello?
Was it open? I'm not sure if it was on the floor for discussion.
It's open, right? Mr. Hicks? Did someone open it and approve it?
Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I motioned to it, but no one did it.
Support. Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve report 5878. Dr. Green?
This is the platform that we use in partnership with Macomb County and, Genesee County for courses that we do not offer in the Southfield Public Schools. However, our students are in need of taking or are interested in taking, particularly those students that are seeking advanced courses in lieu of hiring an additional staff member. We often go through GenNet to provide our students with those courses. Most recently at the U, we were down one teacher for their health course, which was a mandatory course for our students to receive the Michigan Merit Curriculum courses for graduation. Therefore, we went through GenNet to afford our students an opportunity. If we don't have to utilize their services, we will not utilize their services. However, we do subscribe to them annually to be a part of their consortium.
And if we don't utilize them, do we get reimbursed?
We don't pay or ask for the courses, so we don't, they're not prepaid.
Okay.
So we will utilize them if needed.
Okay, as needed. And are these online courses or do we send a teacher over?
They are online courses.
Okay. So wouldn't we know in advance in September if those courses are required and if we have students who are eligible to teach, to take those classes? At what point do we know this?
There are a lot of uncertainties relative to this fall. So as the months progress, we will definitely keep you updated regarding our current status. we lost a teacher mid-year, which required us to utilize the gen ed services at the U. So there are some things that we can predict. There are other things that we're not able to predict. However, we do want to keep our relationship with the Genesee ISD and maintain the consortium pricing.
Okay.
We can't hear you, or I can't hear you, President Hicks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any more discussion or question on report 5878? Hearing none, please call for the vote. Board Secretary?
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Motion carries. Public participate, I'm sorry, bill disbursement.
I'm sorry, Board President, there were 4 additional items from Head Start that were sent to you for signature, but we wanted to make sure that the trustees had them for information as well. So that's 58, 79, 80, 81, and 82. Do you not see that in your packet?
Yeah, that's the only one I have in my package. I didn't have the other one, but I have that one. And like I said, it's quite extensive. So Dr. Ferris, is she still on? There may be some questions that she needs to answer.
Dr. Ferris, is this something that needs to be addressed tonight, or can we push this, given that there are a number of questions, can we push this to the study session in 2 weeks?
No, the CARES has to be approved tonight, by the 15th, I should say. The COLA and the quality improvement. If May 15th deadline.
May what?
Excuse me, yeah, May 15th, this Friday.
You know, today is the 12th. You're giving us a lot of time to digest this, to read and digest this. And when it comes to grant, I don't like to rush through things and then vote on something that I don't know anything about. There's quite a bit here.
For President, someone able to
What's
walk
the
us
pleasure?
through
What's the
it?
pleasure? Yeah. Can you talk us through it, Dr. Ferris?
Sure.
I don't want us to miss our timeline.
So the
Has
first
Policy
one,
Council already reviewed this?
I'm sorry.
Policy Council, if I'm looking at the right report.
Policy Council did not meet on this at all.
Policy Council has met on this.
Not all of this. I beg to differ.
My position is if Policy Council has reviewed it and it's the recommendation coming, I'm going to support this.
I mean, what's the pleasure of the board? I mean, do we want to put ourselves at a risk for grant funding?
Exactly.
Board President, if I may, there's a couple things here. The pieces that are standard definitely went through Policy Council and are ready for board consideration. The CARES Act, again, is supplemental funding that has been afforded to us as a district by way of the federal government because of the COVID-19. This is not something that we would customarily receive. So this piece technically would fall under the resolution that the board passed for me to implement the executive order. However, under that resolution, I don't want to do anything without the board's knowledge and or approval. So I'm still bringing things forward to you so that we can maintain our transparency and that we can maintain our trust. So that is why the CARES supplemental piece is in front of you. The other pieces are standard pieces, and according to Dr. Ferris and I believe Mrs. Hill as well, Policy Council did meet on those other additional pieces. So I'm not sure where the breakdown in communication is. We also forwarded this information electronically to all trustees earlier this week for your review. So we will work to tighten our practices to ensure that perhaps we call each of you to ensure that you've received the documentation as far in advance as possible. But to your point, we don't want to lose any funding for our young people.
I think instead of someone trying to call, it may be a lot easier just to pop it on the calendar. If something is like deadline May 15th, it could be on our calendar, and that way our secretary doesn't have to go multiple places because it's already been sent. So it's on the onus of the board member to review.
Excellent recommendation. Thank you.
So the chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5879, CARES Supplemental Funding Request Final.
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5879. Questions, trustees, or an overview?
Yes, the Consolidation Appropriation Act 2020, narrative and budget detail.
I'm sorry, we're talking of the motion on the floor is for 5879, CARES Supplemental Funding Request.
This is part of it, Mr. Hill, Mr. Hicks.
The consolidated is a separate one.
This is
CARES is different than consolidated.
Okay, all right.
Any questions on the CARES Supplemental Funding Request Final? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
I just have one question. Are there specific regulations on how the funding has to be used and deadlines regarding when it must be used?
So for CARES, it is specific. It's only for summer programming. So keeping in mind our current situation in terms of the pandemic, Head Start didn't provide much latitude in offering us any other options. So the CARES funding is set up for summer programming, whether virtually or face-to-face brick and mortar, but summer school only. And so that funding would have to be expended from the beginning of July till school starts, hopefully end of August, which is a little different than our other CARES funding, which is pretty much for a whole year.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
No.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Want to vote no here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Robinson and Trustee Rice, if you could give your reason for no.
Because it was not fully discussed at the Policy Council meeting, as I mentioned earlier. And this is a grant, and I cannot vote on something like this that may or may not, we may have issues with in the long run, like we did our current grant.
Trustee Rice?
For me, it's just continuity and being able to digest the information in a considerable amount of time.
But again, I mean, I'm looking, it was sent prior to this meeting. So preparedness is on us, right?
Myself, yes. There are 5 yes, 2 no.
Motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5880, Further Consolidated Appropriations Act 2020 through 2021 school year.
Is this the one with the COLA narrative and budget detail?
Nope.
No.
That's the next one.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second.
Board President, just a request I have.
Sure.
For similar to what Trustee Charles shared, if we could have 48 hours before the meeting, that'd be great. Material, especially if we want to flip items potentially from informational over to action items.
Noted.
Board President, would it be appropriate to request a special meeting with these items, say Thursday?
Board President, just as a reminder, I'm meeting with the student body on Thursday evening. However, I could have someone stand in my place if that's the request of the board. However, I will not be present.
No, that's not necessary.
These are all items, if you can hear me okay, I see a lot of spinning wheels. Am I audible?
Yep,
okay.
We hear you.
It looks to me that these 4 items are all Head Start. Not Board President, if I'm correct.
I'm sorry, Board President, if I could jump in, you are correct. And also Janice Hill, Director Janice Hill is on the line and she's wishing to speak. So if you can unmute her, Board President, if you would consider that so that she can address these items that were just delivered to my office on Friday afternoon, I'd be grateful.
Sure. Director Hill, you can unmute yourself. I've made you a panelist.
Oh my God.
Okay, you're unmuted.
Okay. Good evening, board members, Superintendent. I would like to share that the applications that you are receiving now is for supplemental funding. We received guidance from the Office of Head Start on how to apply for the supplemental funding. And so there were a lot of moving pieces at that time. When we did meet with my program specialist and got additional guidance from Mr. Young on how to apply for this supplemental funding, we began the discussion with the Policy Council. I can go through my emails and give you exact dates, but I do know that on April the 24th, I had a discussion with the Policy Council regarding the CARES application, which is 2-part. It's summer funding as well as one-time funds. And then the quality improvement monies were awarded. We did not get our dollar amount. That letter was sent from the Office of Head Start sometime in April. But I did share that information in my director's report during the month of April, that supplemental funding would be coming from the Office of Head Start. Actually, the guidance, and I can send it later to Dr. Green or whomever, and they can forward it to you. Head Start's being very lenient right now regarding the supplemental funding, as it does not necessarily have to go through a total approval process. I need to share with the Office of Head Start and document that you did have an opportunity
to be part of a discussion, and we share the supplemental applications with you. And then that information can be then loaded in our Head Start enterprise system. So it's a little different as a result of this COVID-19. Head Start's being a little lenient with the approvals. I do apologize for the information not getting out sooner. However, I also had to wait and get the information and guidance from the Office of Head Start.
This is your board trustee, Yolanda.
Regarding 5880. So is it safe to say that the sessions that will be held to support mental health and wellness will be held virtually?
Yes, if we are not able to go back brick and mortar, yes.
I have heard a few more questions related to 5880.
I was just going to say I'm availing myself for either evening to allow for board conversations so that the federal level is appreciative of our effort reviewing the documentation.
May I also share that the CARES funding, that I think it's like 41,000 some odd dollars, and the 55,000 through the quality improvement is non-competitive, which means that this money is awarded as a one-time type of supplemental funding from the Office of Head Start that will be a part of that $55,000 will be a part of our grant for the rest of the 5-year cycle. So it's non-competitive. So, of course, you know, if you all would like additional discussion, which is fine, if there's additional days, but I just want to share that it is non-competitive. So if we don't apply for it, they want to give it to us. And if we don't apply for it and submit the applications by May 15th, that's where they're not providing any additional leniency with submitting documentation.
Well, I can tell you, I'm looking at my calendar. I'm not available Wednesday and Thursday, so the Vice President would have to take over for those meetings. I'll give you my vote as yes for all of these items.
And just for President, as another reminder, this being a federal grant, it's highly regulated and we have compliance on numerous levels. So right now we're applying for the grant. However, the federal government by way of Region 5 would still have to approve it before we could even move forward.
So again, what's the pleasure of the board?
Board President, I have
Region 5
and voting this evening.
So the chair will entertain a motion to open and approve report 5880.
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve report 5880. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks.
Yes.
Trustee Paul.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Aye. Yes, this one.
I'm sorry.
Yes, on this one.
Trustee Charles. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Rice.
This is for 80?
Yes.
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 Myself, yes. Unanimous.
Motion carried. Chair will entertain a motion to open and approve report 5881, Further Consolidated Appropriations Act 2020, COLA.
Is Ms. Hill available to give some information on this one?
Yes, ma'am, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hill, before you speak, was it opened?
Yes.
President Hicks?
No.
No.
It was.
No.
Forgive me.
I thought it was.
I made the ask, but we didn't get a
support.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Ms. Hill?
Oh, yes, sir. I just wanted to make sure it's okay for me to speak. So this is some additional funding for cost of living allowance.
I'm sorry,
for
Ms. Hill. I'm sorry, Ms. Hill. Trustee Hicks, I'm sorry, I was unable to record. Who made the introduction and who did the support? I heard a support, but not an introduction.
Me and Poole.
Thank you.
I'm going, Director Hill.
Yes, sir. So this further Appropriations Act is for COLA, which is the cost of living allowance that has been awarded. It's a 2% increase for staff that are funded under the Head Start application.
Okay, now, is this over and above the increase they receive on a yearly basis?
So staff do not necessarily receive an increase on a yearly basis. The only increase that staff will receive is whenever there is a cost of living allowance awarded. There was a 1.7 in 2018-19. I'm sorry, I apologize, 19-20. And there is a 2% increase for 2021. However, staff only receive an increase when COLA has been awarded and voted on by our president and approved by the Senate and Congress.
Correction, your president.
Well,
I said I'm a little confused because I thought
I want to throw my approval.
Beg your pardon?
I thought at one time you mentioned that in order for the your employees to get an increase, it had to be included in the grant. And in previous years, that's what has been done. So you're saying to me now that that is not the place? I'm a little bit confused.
Okay, so let me share. Usually COLA is awarded separately outside of our normal application.
Okay.
Last year for 19-20, the COLA was approved in December. So because it was approved in December, it was a part of the application that was submitted in April. COLA was separate this year, and it was not a part of the continuation application because it had not been approved. We received our guidance letter for COLA funds sometime in March. And so if you look back historically, in previous years, we have always had to submit a separate cost of living allowance application, which is usually submitted around this time. It was for the 18-19 year, but 19-20, COLA was awarded in December.
Okay.
So we usually, the Office of Head Start will send guidance letters. And what I can do, if you would like me to, you can see a screenshot of the Head Start Enterprise System, and you will see that under applications, we were only to submit a continuation application. COLA was not awarded until after around March, and that's why it has to be a separate application submitted. Most times that is what happens.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Or Secretary, please call for the vote.
My apologies, I was still on mute. Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. I move that we open and approve Report 5882, Waiver Head Start Letter.
Support.
We have to now.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5882. Any questions or discussion?
We'd like some walkthrough or background detail on this as well.
Director Hill?
Yes, sir. So as a result of the pandemic, our program is not going to be able to meet our non-federal match waiver because we're not able to, of course, receive the donated items from those community partners, as well as the time that they come and volunteer in the program. We have never requested from the Office of Head Start a non-federal waiver match request. And when I did speak with our program specialist, as well as his supervisor, Mr. Young, they did let us know that many programs will be requesting this because of the COVID-19. If we do not request the non-federal waiver and get approval from the Office of Head Start, then what they can do is the monies that we did not match can be taken from our actual operating budget. We don't want to see that happen because that will take away much needed services for our children and families. So it was suggested by the Office of Head Start, our program specialist, that we request this waiver. Did that help clarify the request?
It does. I just want to make sure, since we have all these tight timeline, that the board has enough time to receive the information, digest it, ask questions, and discuss it, instead of waiting to the last minute that, whoop, we got to have it done tonight. It just seems like the board is not being respected in that part as far as receiving information in a timely manner to discuss and act on it.
Well, I apologize. However, I need to share that I did reach out to my program specialist, which we have a new one. His name is Mr. John Fallon. And Dr. Ferris and I had a conversation with Mr. Fallon. Mr. Fallon was not available, and so I reached out to Mr. Young because it was a concern of mine that we were not going to meet the non-federal match. Mr. Young did share with Dr. Ferris and I on Monday that, try to get it in as quickly as possible, but we weren't provided, I was not provided guidance, and I did reach out to my program specialist through email in early April to request guidance. I did not receive it until Monday from his supervisor, Mr. Young, who then instructed that we move as quickly as possible. However, he did also say that the Head Start and the Office of Head Start will be very lenient with programs because they understand that we're in a crisis right now. I normally would not wait until the last minute, but I did not have guidance.
So Director Hill and Dr. Ferris, I appreciate what you shared. And I mean, things happen. We're in unprecedented times. I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Unanimous.
Motion carried. Bill disbursement report.
Thank you, President. We have our CFO, Mr. Mark Ingram, on the line. Mr. Ingram, please share.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
For the month of April, we had 2 payrolls totaling about $3 million. For accounts payable, we had about $2.2 million in checks, primarily on the general fund and food service fund. For wire payments, we had approximately 1.8 million in payments primarily to the Office of Retirement Services. Total disbursements were $7 million. And as of April 30th, our total disbursements is about $3.5 million over where we were last year at the same time. Any questions?
So where do we stand with our fund balance? Where are we close to it, over it, or what?
As of April, we have about $1.5 million annual surplus, which would push our fund balance to around 17 to 18 million.
Okay.
Can you speak to the reason for the 3.5 difference from last year? What might have been causing that?
It could be timing, depending upon, we might be paying things earlier this year. We would have to do a little more digging on that.
I guess, Board President and Treasurer, like 3.5, if it's a swing of 3.5 million, we're not talking about $3.5. I just think it's important to have that rationale as to why when it's brought up during the report.
Okay.
Noted.
We can provide the research and get back to you. We can provide an explanation through Dr. Green or provide a more detailed explanation at the study session in 2 weeks.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, trustees? There are none. Public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved by school administration, please look in your lower right-hand corner and select the raise your hand icon. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. First participant, Ms. Andrea Wright.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. A couple of questions. Regarding, it was a report regarding heating and cooling. I didn't hear the university, so was that complete or that's going to be done in a later time? First question. Then the second one, you want to answer that one or do you want me to continue?
Please continue with your questions, please.
And then today, listening to the television, they were talking about 10 to 25% cut in state funding for the school. If I'm not mistaken, those were the numbers. And then they projected maybe 8,000 per person, per student, or 72 or 56. How would that be determined for our students? Do you know that answer? And then they said we shouldn't look for federal funding. Why was that stated? Why can't we look for federal funding to help us in this time of need? And I'm done.
Thank you, Mrs. Wright. Dr. Green, did you want to address Mrs. Wright's questions now or via correspondence?
Absolutely, because I'm sure that those questions are some that others would want to hear the answers to. Relative to the U, we are doing things in phases. The gentleman that spoke to the status of projects that were already approved. So the heating and cooling piece was already addressed, and that was pre-approved. So that's a status update. We have phases that will roll out throughout the next 10 years. With the funding questions, we are all in limbo relative to our state aid, and with the federal funding, well, we can't depend on anyone to bail us out. That is why we are actively seeking all grants via federal dollars now, because they are one-time grant opportunities. And we don't want, if we can receive that now, hopefully it will offset any reductions in our stat or in our funding at a later date.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Mrs. Slate.
Do I need to say my address and all that?
Well, since I got your email address on this, we can bypass that.
Okay.
Just please state your name.
Kathy Slate. Have a question about the end of the year grading as it relates to the continuity learning plan. The questions are, one, what will the report card look like? Two, how and when parents are going to be notified if their student receives an incomplete status? Third question is, how long will students have to complete the assignments? Fourth question is, what happens to the student who does not complete the assignments? And number 5 is, will teachers be expected to correct incomplete work after the school year ends?
Dr. Green, how would you like to proceed?
All of those, Board President, those are all very excellent questions, and all of those questions will be sent universally to all of the teaching staff throughout the district from the Office of Curriculum.
Okay. Thank you. There are no other folk with their hands raised. For the good of the order, I want to kind of go backwards. There was a request made before all trustees came aboard that I wanted to discuss. Trustee Robinson had posed a question regarding having a board retreat. And so I just wanted to understand what the pleasure of the board was related to that request.
Board President, I can tell you personally, I am not in favor of a board retreat at this time. While I do think that the time we spend together is valuable when we are planning from a vision perspective, I do think that right now we don't have the luxury, unfortunately, and I think most school districts would agree, we don't really have the luxury of sitting down for a retreat time when we're in such a dire state right now, when we're dealing with the things that are coming up just on the day-to-day basis. And then personally, health-wise, I'm not in favor. I plan for myself and my family, plan to social distance as long as we can. So that's where I stand with that.
Any other feedback from trustees? Oh, yes, Trustee Charles, I'm sorry.
I'm the first one to want to do a board retreat, let's just say it. In fact, I had spoke to Leslie back in March, or maybe it was February, just about brainstorming to get this thing going. However, in light of what's going on, obviously I wouldn't be on board with any kind of in-person retreat. I do feel like there's perhaps a need for a more in-depth digest. And if that were the case, I would be willing, more than willing to participate in something in perhaps July, because I know that the superintendent and her staff are working around the clock to figure out the path forward. I don't need to sit in a meeting where we're still trying to figure that path forward. I prefer it be presented and we get a chance to digest it. So my only ask is that we do have something virtually, perhaps in June, late June, early July, or middle July, something to that effect. So I'm on board with a virtual something, since we're already meeting in July.
Any other feedback from trustees?
This is Trustee Rice. I shared the value of board retreats from MASB some months ago, probably about at least over 6 months ago. And I think when the board voted to have a board retreat, it's just our dates continue to be rescheduled or canceled or rescheduled and canceled. I would be willing to support something during the month of July as well. Definitely would love to explore a virtual opportunity as well.
Other feedback from trustees?
Mr. Joyce and Mr. Who's still on? Yes, I can't hear.
I'm here. I'm just having a lot of audio problems, but I just don't think at this time it's appropriate.
I would concur. I don't want to, well, one, a retreat, if as we've done it in the past, I don't believe we should have it. One of the goals of the retreat would be for us to help synergize the board. And I still feel that there are board trustees who are not aligned with wanting to collaborate. I'm just going to be real transparent. I don't want to waste my time with a person who doesn't want to understand perspectives from others. I believe that the items, if we want to have deep dives, that's why we have study sessions. So we don't need a retreat for that. Don't want to spend the district's money on that effort when it's not genuinely received by all.
Appreciate your transparency, Board President. I just want to remind the board that we did vote, which was approved for us to have a board retreat.
Actually, we voted not to have one.
Right. We voted against it.
But you know, we can put the motion out there now, just to be clear.
We voted last year to have one. We just never got the date together. We just kept canceling.
After the last
we might want to go back
we,
and check. We might want to go back and check our report because and I know
in the
that
minutes,
we did set a date a couple times. Yeah.
You're right. And during the last request for having a retreat, I believe a motion was called and we voted not to have one. But just to be clear, we can do that same motion now again. Just so we're all aligned.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we, for the Southfield Board of Education and Cabinet and SOUP, have a virtual, abbreviated study session. I'm sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. Retreat in the month of July 2020.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to have a retreat in the month, a virtual retreat during the month of July. Any questions? There are none. Please call for the vote.
I have a question.
Sure.
I guess I'm thinking, I understand how we've done board retreats before. So my question comes from a space of, in terms of what we're facing right now, we're not in any type of space that looks like it has looked in the past. And I want to know what would be the goal, the intended goal of this board retreat, and how would that be different from a study session or in-depth study session, just focusing on where we are moving forward in the upcoming academic year? What would be the difference? What would be the intended goal?
So as I've been straightening up my basement, I've come across many binders of various retreats. I was actually happy to stumble upon them. And these are rich and robust binders of information. One example would be the, I don't know the proper framing, but if you just indulge me, the pool at Southfield High, for example. Board members on this call perhaps know what's going on with it, perhaps they don't. And I don't mean to be so granular. I'm just saying that there are umbrella level things about the district that we're not getting a deep dive into. Quite frankly, our study sessions and our general meetings are chock full of so much stuff that there is no time for deep dive. And if we all, as we have in the past, come up with topics that we would like to be to have more expounding on, it seems like not too much to ask. I mean, it's something that we have had a tradition of doing. It's not a bad tradition. It's not in the bad sense. I don't see how it could hurt.
I guess I would add in the information that I share from the MASC to Trustee Charles' point, few of the activities the board offers an opportunity to kind of think, focus, and plan around is the primary goal of the retreat. Also providing us opportunity to do more of a deep dive, because oftentimes the regular board meetings and the special board meetings, as we call them study sessions, are limited to a specific agenda and doesn't lend itself to be able to do some of those deep dives. That would be some of the additional benefits of moving forward with a board retreat. And I do know before we called out an opportunity for folks to send over their requests or information to help devise what a potential addendum might look like for a board retreat. I'd be willing to go that route once again.
All for the question?
Trustee Hicks,
No.
can you give us your reason no?
The same reason that I stated prior to the motion. I don't believe I don't believe that we need to have anything above and beyond the study session. If the trustees want to have deep dives on items at any point, they can make that request. We can add it to the agenda and have that discussion and clarity. A retreat is not necessary.
Trustee Charles.
Yeah, right before I say my vote, I just want to remind us that 2 board members or the chair of the board are able to request a meeting. So really, we don't even need this this motion stuff anyway. You've already found out that at least 2 people want to have a meeting.
Right. That's in the bylaws.
But a motion's on the floor that you all called.
We don't have to vote on it.
But a motion's
So I'm
already,
just pointing out,
it's already on the table.
I'm not voting because I'm voting yes.
Okay.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Poole.
No.
Can you give your reason for no?
Just right now, it's not a good time, and there's going to have to be someone out there in the community trying to pull this together. And I wouldn't want to put anyone at risk trying to pull together a retreat. And I'm assuming that we're referring to the retreats. The type of preparation that has taken place in the past is going to require some work and effort. Right now, I just wouldn't want to put anyone's life at risk to pull that kind of program together at this time.
I'll be down on the phone.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Rice.
Yes.
My vote is no. And my vote is no because I just feel right now we have so many more pressing items that are open right now. We're still trying to close out how we're going to celebrate the seniors, how we're going to transition our preschool babies and our incoming kindergartners, what the school year will even look like moving forward next school year, how we're going to make sure that the teachers can even get in the buildings and, clean up from this current school year. I just feel the list of things, that are still open and yet to be addressed due to the pandemic and the stay-in orders. We don't even know if we're going to have an additional stay-in order that's going to continue to impact this, the impact that continues to remain open right now. And so I would just like to see things be closed from this school year before we start pulling staff into other areas to pull together a board retreat. Again, I don't dismiss the value of them. I think when done appropriately and when all parties come with the right goal and intended goal in mind, they have been successful and they can be. But right now, virtually and or in person, I just see as bad timing.
Vote count. Trustee Thomas.
4 yes, 3 no.
That's not true. It's five. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
There are 4 yes and 3 no.
Thank you.
And I just like to
Motion
say, Board President, if I
Well,
may,
motion carried.
I 100% agree with what Trustee Smith-Thomas is saying, as well as Mr. Poole. My only thing is, I don't believe that it's going to, in any way, threaten any lives, because this is work that they're already aggregating. We just want to be a part of it. I think we all understand our role as governance. So it would be hard for me to go the whole summer and people in the community wanting to know what's next. And we don't know. I mean, we are our bosses is the community. So I prefer that we show a little bit of governance during this very tragic pandemic season. And again, it's not until July. It's not like today. It's not next week. So thank you, though.
Point taken. Any other things for the good of the order?
I have something to say because I'm having some extreme difficulty with audio. So every single time I speak, I have to log off and log back on. I've done it about 20 times already. So something's wrong with, it's probably my computer. But I just got a chance to hear what everyone's saying. And originally I said I thought it was inappropriate. And I still do think it's inappropriate. So when I voted yes, that was because I couldn't hear what was going on. But I really feel strong about voting no.
Okay.
So now that I did that, I can't hear nothing now. So I'm gonna have to log off and come back on.
Okay. So that changes the count. 3 yes, 4 no.
Motion failed. Anything else for the good of the order?
Yes, Board President. I would like to ask for more clarity, and before I do make the statement regarding, there was a comment made earlier by a trustee asking for vacation details of the board superintendent. My question of clarity is, what is the expectation here as it relates to the superintendent would have to take 4 to 5 weeks of vacation, and I think that would be highly inappropriate during a pandemic. I think that she has proven to be on the front line, and I think that even if she told us that she was going to be on vacation from this time to this time, she would likely still be working anyway. So I think, for the record, I would just like more clarity on what this trustee is expecting of the superintendent. I think right now we're in a state of emergency, and we need our top leader present as she wants to be leading with her team. Things are ever changing and ever evolving every single day. And to say, hey, go take a vacation, I think would be very irresponsible governance on our part, especially if she was on vacation and then another executive order came into play. Then what? Do we call her and tell her, hey, you have to stop your vacation? So if I could just get more clarity on understanding that, I think the superintendent would probably like more direction in that regard as well.
Regardless of whether we're in a pandemic or not, taking a vacation would relieve some of the stress. And number 2, that's why you have people on your staff to fill in for you when you're not there. So it doesn't mean that if you're gone, the whole department is going to fall apart. You always have somebody to step in your place to carry on business as usual. So I would want my superintendent to take a break so she could be refreshed when she returned and move forward. Why burn out when you don't have to be burned out?
Any other feedback on that discussion topic?
So I don't really want to have to push back on this, but we have bylaws, we have policies for a reason. If anyone on the call wants to jot it down, it is it is bylaw 0164-2, special meetings, and it states oh so clearly, called by the president or any two members of the board. So as I stated before, the vote was really a moot point, and if we are going to pick and choose our bylaw preferences, then we've got, we don't have a good foundation. So I do want to make that clear. 0164.2 does speak to that. So let's kind of round back to this maybe in about 30 days or something.
Well, following Robert's rules, the governing body can, because we're the ones who created the bylaws, we also can vote to change them, or we can vote to override those either temporarily or permanently. So the pleasure of the board, and the board speaks through their minutes, the minutes were recorded with a motion being taken by Trustee Robinson, by you and Trustee Robinson, and the motion failed. If the trustee felt compelled that that was something in the bylaws, why did you make the motion?
Yeah, none of that really is relevant. What's relevant is that two people have indicated they want a meeting.
Okay,
so
but again, a motion was made, and the board acted on it.
Right. Again, we have a policy as well. We didn't vote to amend the policy or change the policy or suspend it. It's still there.
But we voted to act on a specific time frame, and the motion that was made was for it, and the motion was made and voted on.
Right, and you asked for that. Remember, in the order of the process.
And no one twisted. I asked for. I said, what's the pleasure of the board?
Point of clarity, point of order, please, Board President. If we might recall, we voted to suspend several bylaws in consideration of COVID-19. And I believe this would be one of those special circumstances. And if we could check with legal on that, but also we are bouncing back to a subject that we moved beyond as we were talking about one topic. I'm not attempting to mute anyone, but if we could just make it clear, because I think the superintendent is still unclear about where the board stands regarding her taking a 4 to 5 week vacation during the pandemic.
Sorry, that just thoroughly confused me.
Anything else for the good of the order? Anything else for the good of the order? Well, I think we need to. We need to get feedback for the item that Trustee Smith Charles brought up related to vacation. To understand the board's position on mandate. Sorry, Smith Thomas. Thanks for the correction. For the clarity on, are we mandating the superintendent to take time off, or is it up to the discretion of the superintendent how she chooses to spend her time?
So the question, Honorable. Go ahead, Trustee Charles. You were saying
B
the
as
latter?
in the second choice, yeah.
And which is the latter? What's the first and what's the second?
The first one was mandating the superintendent to take time off, or B, allowing the superintendent to pick and choose how she spends her time.
And you're just trying to get a consensus?
Yes, ma'am.
So my suggestion was that her vacation for year 2020, if she's going to take it, please advise the board when she's going to take it. So we'll be aware of that. And I think why continue every year to move the vacation off from year to year? And like I said before, I would rather have her take a week or two vacation to rest and recoup rather than burn out and then have to go to medical. I mean,
my case.
That's why you have assistants to step in your place. You have a curriculum director. You know, every superintendent has taken vacation, and the district moved forward while they were on vacation. Nothing stopped. Nothing broke down. That's why you have people on your staff. When you're not there, they step up to the plate.
I don't have the policy in front of me, but I kind of think it probably says entitled. The superintendent is entitled to said amount of days. I still concur that it's her choice. And I know our superintendent, you could put her in a cave in Tibet and she will find a way to communicate with her staff and her babies. So we were wasting all kinds of time even talking about this. Like,
right.
She can navigate her schedule with her spouse.
Exactly.
That would be a similar sentiment that I would have as well.
Yeah, as well.
If
So,
we're
it
looking for
sounds like
consistency.
we have consensus. Dr. Green, it's on you how you spend your time.
Thank you. I will remain on the front line with my babies, my staff, and my families and my trustees until we overcome this pandemic.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah, to the point about the policies included in the executive order, we received that information before. If it's something different or that has changed, I would definitely want to have a study session on that, because I remember my hesitation in voting, because I wanted to be explicitly clear which policies were included with giving that flexibility to the superintendent. And so my recollection is that policy that Trustee Charles itemized is not included in that. And if there's anything different than that, would definitely want to have a study session on that, because of the hesitation that I had in voting on that subject matter.
We noted. Anything else for the good of the order?
Can we set a time where we can have that information back, Board President?
I'm sorry, I was pausing because that's not for me to say. That's Dr. Green. Do you have something?
Relative to the executive orders and what policies were suspended?
Well, I can only speak for myself, but as an elected official, which we all are as trustees, for someone to suggest that we can't call a special meeting if need be as a board, as a members of two, which is in our policy, it makes me very uncomfortable, as I'm sure it would make you guys.
I don't recall anyone not saying that. I didn't say it. So let's be clear. I mean, I don't recall anyone else saying that, other than you saying that. But I never said that no one can call for a special meeting or a meeting. So I'm not sure what what's the. I'm not sure.
Or you can submit an email. It doesn't have to be verbal. It can be submitted through an email. People can send an email over as well.
True.
Yeah.
So relative to the question on the table, I will provide all information regarding the executive orders and what policies were suspended relative to those executive orders.
I don't think that's what they were looking for, but okay.
No, because I've received that already. So
Yeah,
that's
they're
not
looking
what
for.
I'm looking for.
I don't want you to do an unnecessary task. That's not what they're looking for.
I agree. So either the call is you want to verbally put your request in here or submit it through email. I guess that's on the table.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Yes, I would like to wish our superintendent a happy birthday, early happy birthday. Her birthday is tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Happy birthday.
Best wishes for your birthday.
Thank you, and I will be in my first meeting tomorrow morning, so I will be on the clock tomorrow as well.
Okay. Future meeting.
Our area council PTA president can attest to the fact that she sent me a text at 4:30 in the morning and I responded immediately because I was awake. These unprecedented times require our full attention. And while I didn't sleep before and our team was on the front line, now more than ever, we are very diligent in all the work that we're doing. So it is truly a labor of love, and we will continue until our children are successful and our community is successful. As Mr. Beebe mentioned, per capita, Southfield and Lathrop Village are the largest impacted communities by COVID-19. We are outpacing Detroit if you look at the per capita. Therefore, we do not take any decision we make lightly. So I thank you for your continued support, and I thank my team for standing by my side and just guarding the doorway for our children to be successful.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Future meetings, Tuesday, May 26th, and after holiday, 2020, 6:30 p.m., special board meeting study session. Tuesday, June 9th, 2020, 7 p.m., regular board meeting. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Properly moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Evening.